Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome to Slurv. Welcome to Friday. I still always get excited for Fridays, even though, baseball continues and thus my work continues. But it's always still nice. And plus, we get a nice big slate on Friday nights, and it's an interesting one for a slate as big as this. We really don't have a whole lot of ace pitching to choose from, so that'll be some interesting choices. We'll talk about that a whole bunch on the expert chat today. And we have those every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So lots of chatting with the experts here at Slurv. So anyway, let's get right on to some picks. It's kind of interesting in that there's only a couple guys I like at most positions, and then just a ton of outfielders. So prepare yourselves. I'll try to narrow that down a bit. But at catcher, I think that Mike Zunino is where I want to go today against Lincecum, who is much worse against righties, gives up massive hard contact to righties. Zunino's a power guy. He can definitely hit you a home run and more than pay off than his 2.9 on DK and 2.7 on FanDuel salaries. Also interesting on FanDuel, though, is Cameron Rupp, who has a big discount over on DK. He's 4.1 on DK and only 3.0 on FanDuel, so just a little bit more than Zunino. I mean, it's a tough call as to who's a more exploitable pitcher between Lincecum and Friedrich, but Rupp has been really hot, and he hits with a ton of power. I think I was noticing that his ISO is over 300 for against right-handed pitching, so I think he makes for another interesting option if you don't want to go with Zunino, or if Zunino doesn't get in the starting lineup. Don't know that yet. First base I really kind of hate, which is rare, I mean, there's usually so many good third basemen that I want to play, but not so much today. But I do like Matt Adams against Joel De La Cruz, who's, nothing special. 3.9 on DK for Adams, 3.4 on FanDuel. I think that's a perfectly fair price on both sites. FanDuel offers you a pretty nice discount option in Chris Johnson against Jorge De La Rosa, getting a little piece of Coors there. I don't even hate it on DK at 3.6. He's Chris Johnson, and he's probably batting, 6th or 7th. 6th would be great. It's probably 7th. It doesn't thrill me, but it is Coors. And Jorge is better in Coors, but all the same, he's 2.2 on FanDuel, so just a little bit above minimum. Hard to go too wrong there. 3.6 on DK. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. For a little bit more of a discount on DK, we got Mark Teixeira, assuming he plays. He was questionable the last time I looked. Against Tomlin, not ideal in the matchup or in the player. But he's 3.0 on DK and 2.5 on FanDuel, so cheap on both sides, although on FanDuel I'd rather go Johnson. This game in Arizona is very interesting to me, and hopefully it will be less owned than Coors. I think it's just a great game. I mean, Arizona's a great spot for hitters, and both pitchers in this matchup are not very good, so we could see some fireworks out in the desert. And I really like Scooter Gennett against Shipley here. He's usually batting second against right-handed pitching. He's a little bit pricey on DK. Actually, all the second basemen I like are a little bit pricey. 4.2, 3.7 on FanDuel. So, I mean, it's not super cheap there either. But then on FanDuel, I'm really excited about Matt Carpenter being back in the lineup. He's probable against De La Cruz. It's 4.6 on DK, which is probably a reasonable price. I mean, there's always a little bit of risk coming right back from injury, but with baseball, at least, they've had a bunch of minor league rehab starts first. It's not like in NBA or NFL where they get right back into the primary major league game. So he should be all right with that. At 4.6 on DK, 3.4 on FanDuel, though, is just a total bargain at a position that's not that easy to fill. And one more guy on DK who's not a second baseman on FanDuel, Trey Turner against Samardzija, who I think is regarded as being a lot better than he actually is, and he's been getting kind of blown up lately. Trey is hot. The Nats are hot in general. And also, even though Posey is playing, but he's playing first base, and Trevor Brown is catching. And Trevor Brown is significantly worse at throwing people out than Buster Posey is. And Trey Turner has stolen quite a few bases, so I think that gives a nice boost to his upside and maybe, to his median projection, whatever you want to call it as well. He's 4.0 on DK, so he's the cheapest of the three guys I mentioned too. He's, he's usually leading off. Lineup wasn't out when I started recording this. And so not available on FanDuel as a second baseman, but on DK I think he makes for a really nice option. Third base in cash for me on FanDuel is easy. There is no right answer besides Jake Lamb tonight. Like I just 2.8 against Chase Anderson at home in the desert. Chase Anderson not very good. I don't know what FanDuel was thinking with that. Don't play anybody else. Seriously. Jake Lamb, FanDuel, lock it in right now. Don't look back. He's 5.0 on DK to give you an idea of what his price maybe should be like. And then on DK, if you need to save money, I mean, I love him there too, but if you can't afford him, that is very expensive. We got Jung Ho Kang against Despafani. He's 3.4 on DK, 3.0 on FanDuel, but like I said, I mean, why would you pay $200 more for him than Jake Lamb, who is, I mean, one of the best left-handed hitters against right-handed pitching in the majors. I mean, him and Harper, Daniel Murphy, I mean, that's just off the top of my head, but he's top 10 for sure, and he's number one in my heart. So, but yeah, play him on FanDuel, maybe play him on DK too. I don't like much cheap at shortstop today, but I do like going back to the desert game with Jonathan VR against Shipley. He's 5.0 on DK, mad expensive. 4.1 on FanDuel, pretty expensive there too. But I don't think there's much more upside in terms of stolen bases than with VR. And he gets on base a whole lot. I mean, there's other guys that I don't hate today, Corey Seager, Carlos Correa, but I prefer VR at the top end of those guys. A little bit further down the pricing tree, we got Brad Miller, who's just been on fire lately. He apparently loves his new spot, batting cleanup for the Rays. Irvin Santana has been good lately, and that's some cause for concern. But Miller is pretty damn good at crushing righties, so I wouldn't be surprised if he can still knock one out on Santana. 4.1 on DK, 3.5 on FanDuel. Some significant discounts there over VR if you can't fit him in. Okay, whole pile of outfielders here. Let's get Coors out of the way first. I expect Stanton to be very popular. He's a name. He's in Coors, and he's facing De La Rosa, who people probably think is even worse than he is, which is not great, but not as bad as people think probably. 5.2 on DK. He's really expensive. 4.8 on FanDuel. Really expensive. But even just for the block, I think he is worth playing. The only real complication to that for me is, one, fitting him in, and two, that I like Marcell Ozuna a whole lot better, especially against the left-handed pitching. I just think the way Ozuna hits the ball is likelier to go out in Coors than Stanton. But then again, Stanton, clobbers the shit out of baseball. So, I mean, he could knock one out anytime with check swing, but all the same, Ozuna is definitely my preferred candidate there, but I would not play him without Stanton in cash. Like, I would not play him over Stanton, as weird as that might be, because just the block. You need to block other people who are going to be playing him, because if Stanton double dongs and he's 60% owned, you're screwed. So Ozuna is actually more expensive on DK at 5.4, but he's a lot cheaper on FanDuel at 3.7. So absolutely love him on FanDuel. Still like him on DK. I think he's a really nice tournament play. There's some disagreement as to whether he's worth using as a one-off or not. I think at that price on DK, he'll be low enough owned that he is, but we'll be talking about that on the expert chat, I'm sure. And then on the Colorado side, we don't know if Cargo is going to play or not. I mean, I would be interested in him, but I think he's expensive, and I think the Marlins side is better. The Rockies are facing Phelps, who's probably on a pitch count, but the Marlins bullpen is also pretty solid. So it's not my ideal spot. I do somewhat like David Dahl. For one, I expect him to continue to be popular. And two, he's only 4.1 on DK, so his price has come up significantly, but it's really just sort of reaching what it should be, maybe even still a little cheap. 4.0 on FanDuel. I think I just like other options better there. I'd rather go Ozuna for 300 less, but on DK, Ozuna's 1,400 more. So Dahl is definitely an option there. Tyler Collins is batting second against Syndergaard for the Tigers. It's, don't really love recommending him because it is Tyler Collins, but he's batting second. He's only 2.3 on DK, 2.2 on FanDuel. You definitely do need to save money somewhere, depending on how you're going with pitching. I think he could be an option. I also really like Ian Desmond against Dallas Keuchel. I'm sorry, just so freaking many that I like today. I'm going to have trouble deciding who to narrow these down to. It's going to come down a lot to roster construction. Anyway, I jumped in the middle there. Ian Desmond against Keuchel, 4.4 on DK, 3.5 on FanDuel. Mark Trumbo is just stupidly cheap on DK. I'm not really sure why. He's 3.4 there, 3.6 on FanDuel. So he's a DK only consideration for me against Miguel Gonzalez. And then there is, last but not least, David Peralta against Chase Anderson, getting back to the game in the desert. And he's definitely a better play on FanDuel, where he's only 2.7. He's 3.8 on DK, but I still like him there, which says a little bit about how much I really like him. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed these Cash Game Cornerstones and that they bring you much luck tonight. Check us out at the Expert Chat today. Come by the tailgate during the day to chat with us, slurv.com, free to sign up and chat. And we'll also have some written content expanding all this and lots of fun stuff, winning money, going to qualifiers, winning live finals, doing it all. I'm running out of things to say and coming to an awkward ending now. Hopefully it's funny for you. Good luck tonight, guys.